I'm Kate Andrews, and here's a look at what is going on this week in the news. And we begin from around the world. A tropical storm has left at least 21 people dead in the Philippines. Tropical storm Hagaput dumped heavy rain as it made its way to the Manila area December 8th. Hagaput first hit December 4th. On Samar Island, the Category 3 typhoon brought roof flooding, left debris, and knocked down power lines. On December 8th, the military was able to send a plane bearing relief goods to Borongan, a hard-hit city in eastern Samar. The Philippine Red Cross was also able to get into Borongan and start its assessment, but the agency is still struggling to get to tiny islands off the Samar province's northern coast. In anticipation of the storm, more than 1 million residents fled their coastal homes for the safety of evacuation centers. Caritas Philippines said that about 43,000 families across 11 provinces are staying in churches, cathedrals, seminaries, and Catholic schools. In news from around the country, the Knights of Columbus have donated $2.2 million to help displaced Iraqi and Syrian Christians and other religious minorities. The aid came from the group's Christian Refugee Relief Fund. It will provide permanent housing for the increasing number of displaced Christians who were driven from their homes in Iraq and have been living in emergency shelters. Supreme Knight Carl Anderson said that the donations were accompanied by fervent prayers for all those suffering in the area. The Knights Supreme Council, which is headquartered in New Haven, began the fund in August. The Knights Christian Refugee Relief Fund has also made a separate donation of $200,000 to the Melkite Catholic Archdiocese of Aleppo, Syria. In news from the Vatican Museums boast one of the most impressive art collections in the world. Now you can view the collection without the cost of a ticket to Italy. Rome Reports has more on a new documentary that takes you inside the Vatican Museums.
About 6 million people visit the Vatican Museums every year. But for those who can't make the trip, now there's a 3D experience where viewers can see it all up close and personal.
Grazie all'esperienza immersiva.
With this 3D footage, you feel like you're actually visiting the museum. It's as if you're reaching out and touching the works of art. It seems like you're part of the frescoes in all their dimensions. Making this happen was not easy. It was the first time Ultra HD 3D cameras were allowed to film inside the Vatican Museums and the Sistine Chapel. Day in and day out, a team of 40 Italian crew members were given unlimited access to priceless pieces of art. In essence, it's an attempt to make a masterpiece out of a masterpiece.
Chiaramente ci sono le stanze di Raffaello.
Our team covered the Vatican's Raphael rooms. We also include works by Giotto and Caravaggio. There's also some pieces from the Museum of Modern Art done by Dalí and Van Gogh. And now, after 4 months of post-production, a 1-hour documentary will hit international big screens starting December 10th. More than 500 theaters will show the film through the SpectiCast network and the Fathom Events digital broadcast network.
Quelle opere che vedrà non le dimenticherà.
The audience will never forget what it sees because the images include so much detail. The narration that accompanies the film is also very original. It describes the history of La Conte, the Torso of Valverde, and of course the Sistine Chapel. You just can't forget it. A documentary that triggers intrigue and inspiration, based on some of the most powerful works of art ever produced by mankind.
Back to news from around the world. No more nukes, says Pope Francis. A message from His Holiness was read by the Vatican's representative to the UN in Geneva December 8th at the opening of the Vienna Conference on the humanitarian impact of nuclear weapons. In his message, Pope Francis called on world leaders, activists, and people of faith to pull together to rid the world of nuclear weapons. While there are currently 17,000 nuclear bombs worldwide in high alert status, experts told participants that the figure is far less than the 70,000 weapons that were combat ready at the end of the Cold War. However, Pope Francis warned of complacency and encouraged conference participants to remind the world of the risks of the nations possessing nuclear weapons. Pope Francis said in his statement that a world without nuclear weapons is possible. And finally in the news, Pope Francis said the Catholic Church must find new ways to integrate the divorced and civilly remarried into the church and to make it easier for Catholic families to accept their homosexual members. His remarks come from an interview published December 7th in the Argentine newspaper La Nación. The interview was conducted December 4th at the Vatican Guest House. The Pope answered several questions about the recent Synod of Bishops of the Family, which considered a proposal to allow divorced and civilly remarried Catholics to receive communion without an annulment of their sacramental marriages. The Pope noted several currently prohibited activities for divorced Catholics, including teaching Sunday school and distributing communion. He also dismissed the idea that divorced and civilly remarried godparents would set a poor example for the baptized. Referring to the Synod's controversial midterm report, Pope Francis said nobody mentioned homosexual marriage at the Synod. He said they addressed a way to help parents stand by their homosexual son or daughter. Pope Francis also said his ongoing reform of the Vatican bureaucracy is a slow process that will not be ready before 2016. Well, that is all the information we have for you at this time. I'm Kate Andrews. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV Network.